Welcome to the wonderful world of knitting. To begin, you'll want to learn the basic knit stitch. It has 4 easy steps, and I'll show each one. Don't worry about getting the yarn onto the needles. I'll show you that a little later. So let's get started. Here is the knit stitch.
Step 1. Right needle goes in from the front.
The very first thing that happens is your right needle goes in from the front. So follow the right needle. It's going to go here and go into that loop from the front. Let me show you again. There's a loop right here on this left needle. We're going to go into the loop from the front like that, only we want it to go in underneath and towards the back. So let me do that again. Right goes in from the front.
Step 2. Yarn goes behind, then in between.
Now the next thing you do is your yarn, which is on the right, goes behind the needles and comes in between them. Let me do that again. The yarn comes from behind and goes in between the needles.
Step 3. Right needle captures the loop.
Next, with your right needle, capture the loop. So I'm bringing the right needle back, and see how it grabbed that yarn? Let me do that again. We had just brought this here. Right needle, capture the loop.
Step 4. Slide it off.
And then you slide it off. Now what do I mean? This left loop here gets slid off the left needle.
The knit stitch. In from the front, behind then between, capture the loop, slide it off.
Now we're going to put those 4 steps together. So the right needle goes in from the front, the yarn comes from behind and goes in between. The right needle captures the loop and we slide it off. Let me do that again. The right goes in from the front, yarn comes from behind and in between. You capture the loop and we slide it off. In from the front, behind, in between, capture the loop, slide it off. Goes in from the front, yarn comes behind, then between, you capture the loop, and you slide it off. And look.
When you knit the knit stitch on consecutive rows, it is called the garter stitch. So, I've learned the knit stitch. So how do I get the yarn onto the needle in the first place? Well, use the knit stitch to cast on the yarn. To begin, make a slip knot.
How do you begin? You've got this yarn, and now what do? We need to get it on a needle with loops. So, first thing we're going to do is we're going to make a slip knot. Now, let me show you what I just did in case you don't know how to make a slip knot. We want it to look like this. How do we get there? Well, there are many ways to tie it. We're going to wrap the yarn around, and my right hand is going to hold a loop while my left hand is still holding. See? Now, my finger's going to come and capture the yarn in my left. My right hand pulls and I make a loop. I make a loop and I hold it with my right. I bring my left finger in and I go and with my finger I capture that yarn and then I pull with my right. I'll do it one more time and now we're going to get started. So I've made a circle. I'm capturing that piece of yarn. My finger's coming through and now my right hand is pulling it tight so I have a loop. Now I'm going to take one needle. I'm going to put the needle through the loop. Now I'm going to pull on the ends, make it a little smaller. So see how small it is? It goes around the needle. There's still room. It's not so tight that I can't move it. I'll let it be a little looser. Okay?
Now use the knit stitch to cast on more stitches. Use the same steps you've learned until step 4.
Put your right needle behind the left. Now I'm going to take the yarn from the right, bring it behind, in between. Now I'm going to bring the right needle, it's going to capture that loop. But I'm going to take that loop, see how I'm letting it be pretty long, and I'm going to put the loop back on the left needle and remove the right needle. And then I'm going to pull this loose yarn, and now I've got 2 loops.
The 4 steps to cast on stitches. Right goes in from the front, yarn comes behind, then between, capture the loop, return the loop to the left needle.
Take your right needle, go into the new loop you just made, take the yarn, go behind, bring it around, capture the loop, and put the loop back on. Pull the yarn. Needle goes in from the front, yarn comes from behind and then in between. I'm capturing that loop and I'm putting the loop back on the needle, the left needle. Right needle comes in from the front, yarn comes from behind and goes in between the 2 needles. My right needle is going to capture that loop, and you can pull it and put the loop back on the left needle. And now I'm pulling the yarn to make it, a little not so loose. And in again. Now this might be kind of a hard thing to do when you're first learning to knit. So just as I did with my niece, because I already know how to knit, I took care of putting on the loops for her. But if you don't have anybody to help you, take your time, see if you can get some on there. So I've now done 8 loops, and now I'm actually ready to knit across from the right to the left. I've cast on 8 loops. Now I'm going to knit from left to right.
And now you know the knitted cast on. And that's it. So now you know how to make a slip knot, cast on stitches, do the knit stitch, and you know these terms: slip knot, cast on, knitted cast on, knit stitch, garter stitch. Bravo! See you next time. And if you have any questions, contact me at knitwithsusie@gmail.com. Bye!